Hey everyone, Happy New Year's Eve on December 31st, 2023. We are about just under 4 hours away from New Year's Eve, from ringing in the new year of 2024 here on the East Coast. And the first of the year is a big anniversary for our family because we left NTCC. Tomorrow will be, or after midnight, will be 18 years ago. And I'm really excited to be on the plus side of that, like just adding those years. It's just amazing. In the one longer video that I recently posted, I mentioned how that I thought I still had a Trumpet Magazine that used to be printed by NTCC. I don't know when they stopped printing it, but it would be very irrelevant, more irrelevant than it was to keep printing it because you can have all sorts of resources online now. I mentioned in the video, I believe, that one of the things about this group, why they didn't have anyone in the seats, was because it's boring. And when people do come, all they hear is negativity. I'm going to show you a few pictures here that I took a screenshot of from the video that they posted live. And because there were children entering the church at the time, you can't see their faces. They're far away, but I've blurred their faces so that they're not in there. I mentioned that I thought, here was the thing. I said something along the lines that this group, they have to always refer back to all these big time preachers from a long, long time ago. They can't even reference the founder of this group because he's never done anything of lasting value for the kingdom of God, which is what supposedly he was all about. And so I said, Keckle just recently mentioned, of course, Jonathan Edwards' Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. And I thought it's probably in that trumpet that I have. So I dug it out, and yesterday morning I was starting to scan it, and my daughter wanted to look at it. Well, I also mentioned in the video about the KJV that we were talking about all this because she was starting to watch this documentary called Let Us Pray, Prey, about the IFB group. Right. It's the Independent Fundamental Baptists. And that is a cult. But it was started at the same time, almost, as NTCC. In that, the same time frame as far as both Davis, the founder of NTCC, and this guy Jack Hyles broke off from the groups they were in because they thought they weren't fundamental enough. Funny if they could see their groups now, I bet. Also, a lot of things that Davis preached and this guy Jack Hyles preached were very similar. And so Diana was telling me that this person she knows, who also had been brought up in a cult, went to his cult's Bible school, and that was Hyles-Anderson. And I forget if it's in Indiana or Missouri or where it is, over in the Midwest somewhere. And he graduated from it. And so Diana was mentioning Jack Hyles. So I went Friday night and I was looking up all kinds of things about Jack Hyles. Who is he? He wrote a ton of books. And so I looked at videos, I looked at sermons he preached, I looked at notes he took, all these things. And he was full of himself, and kind of kookabook. And lo and behold, yesterday morning, as my daughter and I were talking, and I said, I found that trumpet. And there it is, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, right there on the cover. Maybe they printed that in there like every few trumpets. I don't know. It kind of seems that way. And it's under the title of Preachers of Early America. And so she opened it up to look at it. And the timing of this was pretty stunning, because had it not been at this very moment where she picked it up and started looking at it and said, oh my God, there is a poem in here by Jack Hyles. It's like, what? She said, the one trumpet that you have, and he's in here as we're, talking and doing research on all this stuff. And so I want to share with you this poem. And I have it here for you to read, but I'm going to read it very quickly and definitely make comments. And now that I've heard this guy's sermons, and he's all over, people who love him and who hate him and everything in between are on YouTube. So I would say, if you were interested in looking at any of it, just see what the point of view is. I like to see both points of view, because then if you just stick with one, then you may not get the full story. So I went to the website and found his own words. I listened to the sermons. I listened to notes. I read notes that he took and shared. But this is a section in the Trumpet put out by New Testament Christian Church. And it's 2005, so Davis was still alive. And I know that dude gave a check mark on this being good to go to put in here. Okay, so let's read it. It's called The Pastor's Heart by Dr. Jack Hyles. I think I read that this guy actually did go to college, but I would have to check that. I wasn't as concerned about that the other night. I was really looking at his doctrines that he was teaching and how was he spinning the scriptures. Although, just like NTCC, he only believes in the KJV version. So it says, one day, now this is one he wrote, okay? Okay, so I'm going to begin. This is like a little introduction before the poem actually starts. One day the load was especially heavy and the burdens were many. I had so many appointments that night, and to be frank, I rebelled a little bit at having to solve the problems of others when I had so many myself. After counseling with many people, it was about midnight. As I started to go home, I had the following thoughts. Please read this poem very carefully. I cannot find anywhere the year that he wrote this. I would be very curious to know that. But this is what he says, to please read this poem very carefully. I have a burden, Pastor, that I'd like to lay on you. I listened, though he never knew I had a burden too. I took a tearful look toward mine. Then his came into view. 'Twas plain to see my burden was the larger of the two. I saw his load alongside mine, and though they both were real, the yoke he bore, the person coming to the pastor with a problem, was made of wood, and mine was made of steel. To him I said, come unto me, I'll gladly carry thine. It's funny how he goes between 'twas and thine. He's trying to sound like Old English. He's just some dude. Oh my goodness. Anyway, then I whispered unto selfishness, but who will carry mine? I softly laid my burden down to help him his to bear, while knowing that my heavy load I'm not allowed to share. I'll help him with his burden, then regain mine after a while, when I will sigh and weep once more, while now I force a smile. I felt the chains of bondage till a captive came to me. He bade me help him break the bands and aid him to be free. So here's someone else coming to him. I saw the fetters binding him and felt a pity pain, for his were made of little rope and mine of a heavy chain. I laid aside my heavy chains so he my help could borrow. I'll help free him of bondage now and think of mine tomorrow. A doubter knocked at my study's door. I had an urge to groan. Why bring your pebble of doubt to me when mine is made of stone? I smiled at him and listened, while believing in my doubt. I laid it down reluctantly and feigned about a happy shout. I sat alone in a darkened room and felt a shadow's knife. Another came to share with me some darkness in his life. As I compared my night with his, why he's doing that, I don't know. His dark possessed a lack, for his was just an evening shade, while mine was midnight black. I slowly laid my nighttime down to help him seek for light. I'll tread my dimming path again when I have made his bright. A troubled soul came to my door, a problem to confide. I had a problem too that day, 'twas hard for me to hide. My problem was a mountain steep, and his was just a hill. My problem was an ocean wide, and his a tiny nil. Yet 'tis my lot to fill his need, and put mine on the shelf, for I must lay my heartache down and hide it from myself. He told me of a broken heart, while mine was breaking too. I told him of a mending God who maketh all things new. He told me of his thirsty soul. I gave him living water. He said he was a broken vase. I told him of the potter. Another came when I was sick to say he had the flu. His fever was 101, and mine 102. God, this guy's such a creep. Another came when I was faint to say that he was weak. Another came when I was dumb to say he could not speak. Another weeping seeker came, for me his tears to dry. I went alone and wiped my eyes, then told him not to cry. Another came when I was tired to say he needed rest. I lifted him with weary arms and tried to give him zest. And now it's late and all have gone, each one to his abode. So I must find my problems and regain my heavy load. Where is the burden I had borne? I had it a while ago. Where is the problem I must solve? I left it here, I know. Where is the darkness I once knew? I now see only light. The chains, the tears, the pains and fears are nowhere now in sight. I cannot find my broken heart. Where is my fevered brow? I have a song, the tears are gone. I cannot find them now. My sickness now hath turned to health, and trust replaceth fright. Assurance covers all my doubts. My darkness now is light. I heard a voice from heaven say, my child, 'tis always true. Because God speaks to him in Old English. When you take care of others' needs, I will take care of you. Okay, so on the surface, at that end part, you're like, well, that's cool. Is it? Here's a couple things. This Trumpet came out in 2005. I do not believe that Davis was not aware of who Jack Hyles was while he was in Missouri, while he was in Washington State. That's my personal opinion because of the overlap, because of things I've read, because of where each of them were at different times, because of the knowledge they all had, especially then, of traveling around, of one another. That's just totally, completely my personal opinion, okay? The other thing is, this Trumpet came out in 2005. By that point, a lot was known about Jack Hyles and his group, including lots of accusations against him and sexual activity, forbidden, because he was married, but not just him, parts of his group as well, like big time. Like, I think there was a news report, and I was trying to look at find it in the documentary of, there were in one when people did some investigating, I believe it was 2005, where there were news reports about over time there had been 450 charges brought against preachers and youth pastors in this group. And 4 of the girls, their stories are the ones that are told. Diana started to read this, and she was like, oh my God, this is Jack Hyles. I said, what? What are the chances that I find the trumpet and here is Jack Hyles after we've been talking about him and doing research about him? And so she read it, and she came away with the same thought that I did, was each of these things, imagine each of these different people. This man obviously doesn't have a pastor's heart. I don't know why it's even called that. I don't know why he mixes here and there Old English with just regular American English. And having listened to some of his sermons and his attitude, I guess he thinks this is honorable, that okay, let's say on the surface, if he just wrote this poem about different people from his, who were coming to him for help, for advice, for healing, isn't that what a pastor wants people to do? Shouldn't he rejoice that they come to him? But he had known such large groups of people that followed him, but he wasn't the only one they were talking to. He's supposedly the pastor, okay? And yet here, all these people calling him pastor are coming to him with each of their burdens, and he lists each one. This is not a man with a pastor's heart as contained in the scripture that he says he only believes, which is the King James Version. It should really be called the anti-pastor's heart, or the competitive pastor's heart, or my problem is bigger than your problem, pastor's heart. He is complaining, and it reminds me of the few times recently that I pointed out Kekel coming up saying, people were out of church, but, he was there and he was sick, and no one called or did anything when he and his wife had COVID. And just, it's this same whiny, complaining thing that is not a heart after people. And that's probably why he gets up and he tears people up almost every single service. Even if he starts out and you're like, oh, maybe he's gonna, keep just with salvation or something similar. No, he has to get in there something. And this morning, one of the first things he mentioned was they were going to have like a prayer at midnight tonight, and, pray for their church attendance to be better. As if church attendance is anything. It's nothing. It's something to please a man. It has nothing at all whatsoever at all to do with pleasing God or being in obedience to him. And I really want you to know that, because I don't think NTCC is the only one that says stuff like this, but they say it all the time. All the time. They tie your dedication into whether you're sitting your butt in that pew in their empty church, okay? And to remind you again, here's some more pictures from Christmas morning. Then you would think everybody would be there. And accounting for the choir that was sitting up there, which are all, pretty much Bible school students or ministers who are stationed there in Graham, there's no one there. It's empty. He goes through all of this, very long-winded for a poem, about comparing. This is what this man does. And Davis chose this to put into a trumpet. Anyway, I'll put it up so that you can look at it. And if you want, Jack Hyles, Hyles, look him up too. Quite interesting stuff. And are you going to tell me, you're going to tell me two things. That either that this was put in here only because of it was called the pastor's heart and no one read it, and they just put it in there? Or did they put it in there and they read it? Why would you read that and think that's something positive or good? And if you did that, did you look up Jack Hyles? I mean, let's say Davis didn't know squat. What? I don't know who Jack Hyles is. Okay. And the other thing is someone going to tell me, oh no, Davis didn't know who he was? Why didn't he? You just post stuff. It's sort of like that one poster I found on their Facebook page, and I didn't recognize the name. I looked it up, and the guy is involved in all sorts of chicanery. And then you have this guy who's just a schemer, a shyster, and who looked at everyone who came to him for help as a burden. That's not a pastor's heart. He measured everyone. Who does that? Who looks at someone's burden and says, as a pastor, not just as a person, do you do that to other people? Say, my burden's more. They're coming to me with their problem. My problem's bigger. Ours are probably always perceived to be bigger because we're the one going through it. But sometimes you can just figure out, who cares? Is this a contest? Mine's bigger. Mine's bigger. Mine's worse. My fever's a degree more than yours. I mean, this is despicable to me. I don't know how anyone reads it and doesn't see what a creep this guy is. He viewed every single person, and he went on for different ones. He didn't just say it like one or two times to drive home a point. He just kept going on and just kept comparing. This is a man who compared and found himself to have bigger problems and bigger worries and bigger sickness and bigger sufferings. But, in the end, a voice from heaven, my child, 'tis always true. When you take care of others' needs, I will take care of you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that he believes that, is what I mean. He doesn't, for someone who's supposed to be a Christian preacher, he doesn't reference what you would expect someone to regarding the Bible, regarding even catching himself like, oh, Lord, forgive me, because I was just, he looks at it as he fulfilled what he should have done as a pastor. He helped them. He did it reluctantly. He did it with, I don't want to say reluctantly. He did it, but he didn't want to. And he resented that they were coming to him, and every single one of those is worse. Guy's a creep. He is a creep, and this is a pastor's heart. Hey, I take that as another thing about NTCC. We believe it. We believe you compare. We believe Davis did. We believe Keckle does. He sees people come and he judges. Judges. Can't judge someone else. Who does that to somebody? You don't know. It may not be big to you. It's big to them. And they're coming to you for help. They're not going to anyone else. They're coming to their pastor. Shouldn't you be happy about that? Shouldn't this man have been happy? There's nothing godly about this. It's disgusting. And to add to the whole gross nature of it, vile nature, Davis put it in the Trumpet and sent it out for pastors to read. My goodness. I'm quite sure by the time we received this Trumpet, I do recall reading the front 2 pages, I think, and thinking, with everything that was going on in the organization, with our back and forth with Davis and the Keckles over problems that were left behind by the previous pastor and his wife in Newport News, and other things that we were trying to bring to the attention of the organization, but just like others who tried, and they got nowhere, because NTCC is absolutely fine and dandy with anyone who will be obedient and who will comply, whether they're adulterers, whether they're cheaters, no matter what they are, they don't care. If you shut your mouth and do what the man of God says, we love you. They will lose church members over it. Just give me those people that can go out and manipulate others to come in and pay money, pay tithe. Be scared into paying tithe. I don't know why this particular one is still with me. I have no idea. I don't know why I still have the one notebook with all my notes from the last fall conference, which I believe was at the end of September 2005. But I'm glad it's here, because I'm glad that you can see the heart of the man, the way he believed, the founder of this organization, if you never met him before, and how it has been passed down to Keckle. He has said it in his own words over the pulpit. This isn't from me. You can listen to it yourself. You can go back and listen to the ones I shared. I'll find you some more if you want. I don't care. Whatever keeps you out of there, whatever dissuades someone who's been invited to going, I will get you that information. I will take the time and I will do it for you. Anyway, that's enough of this. Good night and Happy New Year.